Sorry, Mr. Afifan, your sound is not flow to our room.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Afifan, and in this presentation, I will be sharing our research titled Evaluating Sparse-Dense Hybrid Fusion Strategies on the Indonesian Mr. Tidy Benchmark. This research was conducted with my supervisor at the Faculty of Computer Science Universitas Indonesia. We have four sections: introduction, method, result, and discussion, and the last conclusion. Introduction. Sparse retrieval methods like BM25 are efficient and stable, but suffer from vocabulary mismatch. Dense retrieval like MPNet addresses this by using semantic embeddings, but research from Zhang et al. In 2021 so it still fails to consistently outperform BM25 for non-English languages, including Indonesian. Hybrid retrieval combines both, but its effectiveness for Indonesian general domain information retrieval has not been systematically explored. This brings us to the gap and motivation. Prior Indonesian hybrid retrieval studies such as Mariama et al. In 2024 and Suharyadi and Saputra in 2025 use proprietary domain-specific datasets. No study has systematically compared convex combination and reciprocal ring fusion on a general domain Indonesian benchmark like Mr. Tie-Dye. From this gap, we raise three research questions. First, how complementary are BM25 and MPNet in Indonesian information retrieval? Second, does hybrid fusion significantly outperform individual baseline? And the third, which is more effective, convex combination or reciprocal ring fusion? Now, let's move to our methodology. For our experiment, we use the Indonesian subset of Mr. Tie-Dye with over 1.4 billion documents, 1,224 development queries for parameter tuning, and 829 test queries for evaluation. Our architecture process a query in a parallel through to retrievers. BM25 handles the sparse side, and MPNet handles the dense side using FAISS. It produces a rank list, which is then combined by one of two fusion strategies to produce the final result. BM25 use Indonesian stemmer to normalize morphological variation, reducing vocabulary mismatch for Indonesian text. MPNet generates semantic embeddings that capture meaning beyond keyword matching. Vectors are indexed with FAISS for efficient search. And we evaluate two fusion strategies. Convex combination, or CC, is a score-level fusion that combines normalized BM25 and MPNet score using a weighted parameter lambda tuned on the development set. And reciprocal rank fusion, or RRF, is a rank-based. It aggregates rank position instead of scores, making it more robust to store outliers. The smoothing constant, K, is also tuned on the development sets. Now, let's see the result of this research. Looking at overall performance, hybrid method significantly outperformed individual baseline across all metrics. Convex combination achieves the highest MRR at 100 of 0.452, a 20.2% improvement over BM25 and 45% over MPNet, with P less than 0.001. When comparing CC and RRF directly, CC statistically outperformed RRF with P equal to 0.0013. However, the margin is narrow, 0.52, 0.452 versus 0.442. Both strategies are competitive, and RRF actually achieved a slightly higher recall at 100 at 0.895. To answer research question 1, we look at the overlap between BM25 and MPNet in the top 100. On average, only 12.96 documents per query appear in both lists, confirming that two retrievers are genuinely complementary. BM25 uniquely succeeded on 199 queries that MPNet missed, mostly factoid queries with name entities like siapakah, meaning who is, and MPNet uniquely succeeded on 62 queries that BM25 missed, particularly semantic queries like apakah yang dimaksud, meaning what is meant by, its retriever capture what the other cannot. Breaking down by query length, source query of 1 to 3 words show the most interesting pattern. BM25 performs weakest here at MRR 0.250 because limited keywords give it little to work with. MPNet does better at 0.341 by capturing semantic intent. With convex combination, performance jumps to 0.396, a 58% improvement over BM25. This is the most significant benefit of hybrid fusion. CC also consistently outperforms baseline for medium and long mid. For CC, the optimal lambda is 0.5, meaning both lexical and semantic signal contribute equally. This reflects the diverse nature of general domain Indonesian queries. Performance drops symmetrically when we learn too much towards either sides. For RRF, optimal K is 30. Most importantly, performance across all K values is extremely stable, with a spread of only 0.007 MRR, meaning RRF needs very little tuning. So, to answer research question 3, CC statistically outperformed RRF at P equal to 0.0013. However, RRF is more robust against scores outliers, which is useful practical advantage. To see this in action, let's look at the two concrete examples. In our success case, the query siapakah R. Elstein, BM25 placed the relevant document at rank 19 due to vocabulary mismatch. MPNet placed it rank 2 by capturing semantic intent. CC then promotes it to rank 1 by leveraging MPNet's high confidence scores. RRF also achieved rank 1. In our fellow case, apakah susu sasak ala penduduk asli Pulau Lombok? BM25 correctly ranked it at 7, but MPNet assigned a near zero score because the yes-no structure confused the encoder. CC's static fusion then amplifies this penalty, pushing the document to rank 105. We call this the dense penalty. RRF handles it better at rank 17 because rank-based aggregation is less sensitive to score outliers. To summarize, BM25 and MPNet are highly complementary with an average overlap of only 12.96 documents per query. Hybrid CC achieves MRR at 100 of 0.452, improving 20.2% over BM25 and 45% over MPNet, with short queries benefiting most at 58%, and CC statistically outperforms RRF, though RRF is more robust against scores outliers. For future work, we plan to develop dynamic query-aware fusion to address the dense penalty problem and to adopt GPU accelerated files to reduce MPNet inference latency for real-time deployment. Thank you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Okay, Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Afifan. Now the session is open to Q&A session. Please, for the audience, feel free to raise your question or any comment regard to this research. Okay, please, Ms. Nurul Sasabila, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the very interesting presentation, Mr. Afifan. My name is Nurul Salsabila Syam. My current research actually overlaps significantly with your work. I am also researching about hybrid fusion, specifically about evaluating zero-shot LLM list-wise re-ranking using RangZephyr. The difference is that I am using Indonesian subset of the Miracle dataset. Since we both working in the realm of Indonesian information retrieval, I am very curious about your decision to use Mr. Tie-Dye dataset. I have a question. What were the main consideration for choosing the Mr. Tie-Dye as your evaluation benchmark, and how do its fundamental characteristic differ from the other existing dataset? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Nurul. The selection of the dataset is highly crucial foundation in our research. The primary reason for selecting this dataset, Indonesian Mr. Tie-Dye, because it is constructed from genuine human, and the query is organic. Many prior non-English evaluation datasets were built by automatically translating English queries using this machine translation. The issue is that machine translation is often overly rigid and doesn't reflect how native Indonesian speakers naturally type the question into a search engine. In contrast, the queries within Mr. Tie-Dye originate from question typed directly by real user into the Wikipedia search engine, which are then annotated for ground truth by native speakers. Due to its organic nature and open domain representation, evaluating our system of Mr. Tie-Dye provides a more honest and realistic projection of how this hybrid system will be performed when implemented in real world. Maybe it's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, how about the explanation of Mr. Afifan, Ms. Nurul?
Can you get my answer? That's my answer. Can you catch?
Yeah. Very insightful. Thank you for the answer, Mr. Afifan.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Nurul, and for the explanation to Mr. Afifan. Okay, to our second paper with title Active Neural Network Intervention for Low-Level Feature Control in Vision Model Interpretability with paper ID 157125596 that will be presented by Alexander Calvin. Okay, to Mr. Alexander Calvin, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our paper today. And my name is Alexander Calvin, and along with my supervisor as co-author Laksmita Ardianti, we are from Universitas Indonesia, and here I will be presenting our paper titled Active Neural Network Intervention for Low-Level Feature Control in Vision Model Interpretability. Okay, so in this research, we are going to challenge a fundamental assumption about how we interpret deep vision models and introduce a novel paradigm to actively guide their learning trajectory in real time. Okay, so the content of this presentation will be separated into four sections from introduction, methodologies, result discussion, and lastly, the conclusion of this research. Okay, so the first one, the introduction about the background of this research, coming from how the modern deep models such as CNN and vision transformer in computer vision domain can effortlessly learn hierarchical features, moving from low-level features like edges, texture, and color, up to complex objects like contours and scenes. However, this learning process is completely unguided, where the model decides what to prioritize and without any human oversight or supervision. So this is the classic black box problem on deep models. To fix this, pure researchers have built interpretability tools like NetDissect, TCAF, or GradCam. But those tools share the same critical limitation that they are completely passive, which is it is only used to observe the model after it finished the training process, and that system only act as a sensor, but without a feedback mechanism in it. So our core idea is pretty simple, where how about we close the loop by actively steer the low-level features during the training process. So first of all, let's distinguish between the two core component of interpretability, the transparency and the post hoc explanation. First, the term of transparency is used to understand the internal mechanism of training algorithm of the models itself. So this answer how does the model actually work inside, and this help us quantify a specific detector for a certain concept. As for post hoc explanation, this is used to extract information after a prediction is being made. Think of it like a human justifying their decision. So this brings us directly into our gap in current research, where the passive tools only act as a sensor without an actuator loop to alter the training result. And on the other hand, the control mechanism act blindly because they completely ignore the human and understandable semantics. This unguided learning leave models fragile condition under the distribution shift. Our solution is by implementing an active neural network intervention mechanism by integrating a feedback loop directly into the training process on the gradient descent, and then monitor the control the low-level feature distribution in real time. For this proof of concept, we scope our evaluation of Cypher 10 variants using the ResNet 18 as our backbone. Okay, so moving on to the methodologies. This is our framework. In detail, we designed the closed loop feedback loop wrapped around standard neural network training, which structured into three parts from the sensor, controller, and actuator. Okay, so the first one, the sensor, which is powered by the network dissection, used to monitor the low-level feature distribution, like colors and texture. Specifically, we are using a broadened dataset as a dictionary for IOU labeling. And the next one is the controller. This one is acting on its end of training epoch. This used to tell lies or aggregating those concepts into to update the semantic modulation weight. And finally, the actuator is the one that actually intercept the model forward pass. This applies learnable scaling from the controller for each unit. So inside the targeted layer, so by scaling those unit of layer, we actively guide what feature the network focus on later. Okay, for the data set to test this framework, we use three group of data sets. First is the benchmark and robustness test by using the standard Cypher10 data set with the details shown in the slides, and then we have stylized Cypher10 from the standard data set with addition of texture bias, and then the second group is the semantic reference is will be used by the framework and also for injecting the features on the previous stylized Cypher dataset. And the third group is the control verification. This one we measure the color, the synthetic color set and broaden mask, which we used for clean noise-free verification for testing the effect of the actuator. As for evaluation, we measure the classification quality using a standard formulation from like accuracy, precision, recall, and F1, alongside with the computational efficiency like GPU memory and training time overhead. Now the result and the discussion. So the first one is the qualitative result from the standard Cypher10, but it's on the result that both texture and color boosted configuration achieve an improvement in accuracy about 0.65 to 0.67% gain over the baseline. This proof that the intervention is working and the semantic matters. On the second result, on a stylized Cypher10 dataset with under the heavy texture shift, our color boosted model actually achieve a 0.55% improvement over the baseline, but in the other scenario with the texture up, resulting in a lower performance about 1.21 below the baseline. This indicating that by suppressing the texture and forcing a reliance on color can mitigate the texture bias on this dataset, and also the misleading texture reliance can hurt the model performance instead. Okay, so on the common issue of interpretability guided training is the computational cost. However, this framework only affect training time slow down about 30.6%, while the GPU memory it stayed flat for about 3.5 GB as the training goes on. So qualitatively, we can see that to demonstrate the visual effect of intervention, we use the noise-free synthetic dataset, as we can see on the resulting activation heat map on the right side of the screen. We can see a ripple effect by modulating the features early at the conv1 layer inside the ResNet backbone. By suppressing a certain concept, we transform the learning trajectory of the model on the deeper layers. Like on the color boosted configuration, we can see that the model learn the feature based on the outset area, which is the difference on the color on the dataset. As for the shape boosted configuration, it learned the pattern from the inner build shape inside. Okay, so as the conclusion, we have shown that the active intervention is both visible and lightweight. Also, by aligning internal representation with human understandable concept, resulting in a better performance and stronger robustness under distribution shift on the dataset. For moving forward, our next step, we can scale the paradigm into a bigger dataset to test. Like we can test it on ImageNet, and also we can more by using more deeper evaluation metric, and also we can also extend the framework into other architecture like vision transformer or step space model like Mamba. And yeah, I think that should conclude our presentation. Thank you very much for the time and the attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your great presentation, Mr. Alexander Calvin. Now the floor is open to Q&A session. Please, anyone who could have any concern or question, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay, while we are still waiting for audience question, Mr. Alexander, I am curious about your research. Could you elaborate or explain what is your baseline state and your design of experience? Because I see in your result there is a positive significance. Yes, this slide. There's a positive significance because there's an increased accuracy. So what is the baseline state and what is the texture 0.54 color 2.0 means in your research?
Can you repeat the last sentence? I kind of not catch that. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, could you tell us more about what is your baseline state and the configuration for the number third in your table, which is
Oh yeah.
texture 0.5. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so for the baseline configuration, actually we use standard configuration from the previous paper from the ResNet 18, without any addition. Like this is the result from without any addition, like we inject the what is it the texture or color boost on the gradation, but and the increase is uh by what this is not actually is not actual not significant change because it is only 0.67, uh but it shown that by we adding some parameter, like we boost some unit on of layer of the model, we can actually improve the models uh, compared to the default settings. So yeah, basically the baseline and the other configuration is using the same configuration, but for the our configuration with the color and texture boost, we have our addition, like in this in this extractor where we add some modulation on each layer.
Okay.
Is it
So
answering
basically
the?
you use the default baseline is ResNet,
Yes,
is it right? And then you add some
yes,
model
yeah,
layer to your current reset.
yeah, to
Okay.
the current base model. So we in we inject uh those architecture, so it improve the performance. Yeah.
Okay, for the baseline method, are they use same dataset with yours, Mr. Alexander, or
Oh yeah, they are using the same dataset. So from yeah, so there are actually two result. Yeah, from this one is the result from Cypher 10 dataset, and then this one is using the stylized Cypher dataset. They are using the same dataset, the same split also, the training and test split.
okay? So basically on those two dataset, there is increased accuracy, right? Okay,
Actually, on
thank you
the
so much.
second, yeah,
Mm-mm.
so on the second one is
How?
different. Okay, sorry. Can I continue or the time is up?
Yeah,
Oh, I can continue.
sorry.
Okay. So on the second dataset, actually on the the texture boost on the texture boost configuration, it actually hurt the model, which the performance is under the baseline. As you can see in the accuracy, this on the texture boost one only 87.23 as the baseline. It get 88.44%. This is because the stylized Cipher 10 dataset is we inject a texture noise into the dataset. Yeah. So this actually can hurt if we boost the misleading features.
Okay. Very nice finding,
Yeah.
Mr. Alexander. Okay, thank you so much for your great explanation, Mr. Alexander. Okay, now we're
Okay.
moving to our third presenter, with title Evaluation of User Acceptance Toward AI-Driven Educational System for Mandarin Language Acquisition, with paper ID 1571279330, that will be presented by Mr. Ivan from Universitas Bunda Mulia. Did Mr. Ivan join this room?
Hello, yes.
Okay. Okay, please, Mr. Ivan.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ivan Japutra, a lecturer from the Mandarin Language Study Program at Bunda Mulia University, Indonesia. On behalf of my co-authors, I'm pleased to present our paper, Evaluation of User Acceptance Toward AI-Driven Educational System for Mandarin Language Acquisition. Now, please allow me to share my presentation video. I hope this video can provide a clear overview of the topic and effectively convey the main points of the presentation. And I hope you enjoy watching it. Please wait a moment.
Ini Zoom-ku bermasalah. Keluar dulu. Zoom-ku ini nge-lag. Ya, nggak bisa apa-apain. Apa ya? Unmute keywordnya apa ya?
Hello everyone, my name is Ivan Japutra, a lecturer from the Mandarin Language Study Program at Bunda Mulia University, Indonesia. On behalf of my co-authors, I'm pleased to present our paper, Evaluation of User Acceptance Toward AI-Driven Educational Systems for Mandarin Language Acquisitions. Now let's take a look at the next slide. Today I will cover 4 sections: introduction, methods, results and discussion, and conclusion. Let's get started. First of all, let's discuss about the research background. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has become an important tool in education. In language learning, AI platforms can help students practice independently and improve their listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. Mandarin Chinese is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world, and its importance continues to increase. However, learning Mandarin is challenging because students need to master 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Therefore, effective learning tools are needed to support students. Today, 2 popular AI platforms are ChatGPT and DeepSeek. ChatGPT, developed by OpenAI, has been widely used since 2022. DeepSeek, a Chinese AI model launched in 2025, is especially interesting because it was trained on more authentic Mandarin language data. Previous research by Wen Yi et al. 2025 found that DeepSeek performs better than several Western AI models in generating Mandarin content. However, there is still limited research gap comparing how non-native Mandarin learners use and accept ChatGPT and DeepSeek. Therefore, this study aims to compare students' acceptance of these two AI platforms in Mandarin language learning. Our study had three objectives. First, analyze user acceptance of both platforms using Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM, specifically examining the contrast or perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, attitude toward using, and behavioral intention. Second, compare acceptance patterns between ChatGPT and DeepSeek. Third, identify the key factors driving behavioral intention in Mandarin learning. Now let's move on the next slide, discuss about the research methods. As shown on this slide, we use a quantitative approach with 105 undergraduate Mandarin students from universities in Tangerang. All experienced with both platforms. Data was collected October to December 2025 via a 16-item questionnaire on a 4-point Likert scale. Each of the 4 TAM variables includes PEOU, PU, ATU, and BI, was measured separately for both ChatGPT and DeepSeek. We tested for hypotheses corresponding to the core TAM pathways. Analysis was performed using PLS SEM via Smart PLS 4.0, which is well suited for structural models with moderate sample sizes. Building on the previous slide, let me walk you through what the data revealed, starting with our respondents, then the measurements model, and finally the hypothesis testing results. Building on the previous findings, the slide illustrates the findings are reported as percentages of the total sample and equivalent 105. The data are presented as percentages of the total respondents with all categories collectively comprising 100%. Most respondents were third semester students. This category represents 38% of the total respondents. Crucially, 54% use AI almost every day, and 35% is used it several times a week. Nearly 90% engaging regularly. Session duration range from 15 to over 60 minutes, confirming strong platform familiarity. Turning to the measurement model evaluation, we assess convergent validity and reliability for all contracts. All contracts exceeded the required thresholds: Chromebook Alpha above 0.8, composite reliability above 0.9, and average variance extracted above 0.5. For both platforms, discriminant validity was also confirmed using the Funnell-Rackhard iteration. On notable observation from the data is that DeepSeek consistently show higher values across most indicators, particularly in ATU, which had the highest AVE of 0.854. This early signal suggests that the indicators for DeepSeek's contrast are more cohesive, meaning users are responding more consistently to that platform. Let's move on the next slide. Now, the core of our findings, hypothesis testing. All 4 hypotheses are supported, positive, and significant for both platforms, but the difference between them are the key story. First hypothesis, ATU predicts BI, shows that attitude toward using is the strongest driver of behavioral intention on both platforms. The path coefficient for DeepSeek at 0.850 is notably higher than ChatGPT 0.767. This means that when users like DeepSeek, they are even more strongly inclined to keep using it. Third hypothesis, PEOU, predicts PU, is the strongest path overall on both platforms, with coefficient of 0.819 for ChatGPT and 0.856 for DeepSeek. Simply put, if the platform is easy to use, users find it more useful. This holds strongly for both. Now, here is the key difference for fourth hypothesis PU predicting ATU. ChatGPT shows a much stronger coefficient of 0.608 compared to DeepSeek's 0.371. This tells us that ChatGPT users' attitudes are primarily shaped by perceived usefulness. They adopt it because it gets job done. Whereas for second hypothesis, PEOU predicting ATU, DeepSeek shows a much stronger coefficient of 0.538 compared to ChatGPT's 0.232. DeepSeek users' attitudes are shaped more by ease of use. The experience of the platform itself feels more natural and accessible, likely because its interface and outputs are more aligned with Mandarin script and context. Finally, the R-squared values further reinforce this pattern. DeepSeek's model explains 72.7% of the variance in behavioral intention compared to 61.7% for ChatGPT. The TAM framework simply fits DeepSeek's user behavior better, suggesting a more coherent, contextually consistent user experience. With that in mind, let's turn to the results discussion. First, ATU dominates on both platforms, regardless of which platform users prefer. Their attitude is the single most important predictor of whether they will keep using it. Second, for DeepSeek, ease of use drive attitude. We believe this is directly linked to DeepSeek's Mandarin native training data. Its outputs, the vocabulary, grammar feedback, and character rendering feel more natural and immediately useful to our learners, reducing cognitive load. Third, for ChatGPT, usefulness drive attitude. ChatGPT users are more pragmatic. They continue using it because they perceive it as a capable tool, even if the interface is not specifically optimized for Mandarin. Fourth, the higher R-square for DeepSeek suggests its user experience is more predictable within the TAM framework. ChatGPT's lower fit implies there are additional factors, perhaps trust, cultural authenticity, or perceived linguistic accuracy that influence acceptance but fall outside standard TAM. In conclusion, first, LTM contracts are valid and reliable. ATU is the strongest predictor of BI for both platforms. Second, DeepSeek's are higher R-square and stronger PEOU, but reflect in Mandarin native advantage. ChatGPT's strength lies in perceived usefulness. Institutions deploying it should invest in structured onboarding. Third, future research should expand the sample, extend TAM with contracts like linguistic accuracy, cultural authenticity, and trust. Lastly, to conclude our presentation, on behalf of all six authors, thank you to the organization committee and to all our respondents. We hope these findings contribute meaningfully to the growing conversation around AI integration in language education, particularly for non-Western languages like Mandarin. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that video recording presentation, Mr. Ivan. Now the floor is open to Q&A session. Please, to the audience, is there any question or feedback? You might raise your hand. Okay. While we're still waiting for the audience question, I might curious, Mr. Ivan. My question kind of a reflective question. I have two questions, Mr. Ivan. The first one is based on your experience, what are the top reason why student might feel comfortable and uncomfortable using AI while they learn Mandarin? And the second one, according to your research, what is the most important feature AI tool that need to have so that people want to use it? Okay, please, Mr. Ivan.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Istifa. Okay, let me answer your question. For the first question is why the students is comfortable using AI for learning Mandarin, right? Um, I think in the TAM framework, attitude toward using refers to individuals' overall positive or negative evaluation of using a technology. Feeling comfortable and when using AI for mental learning is reflects a positive emotional and physiological response toward the technology. When students feel comfortable interacting with AI platforms, they are more likely to perceive the experience positively, which contributes to a favorable attitude toward using the technology. Mm, maybe is comfort is not both the technical functionality of the system, rather it reflects users' feelings with engaging. May feel comfortable asking AI or fear of adjustment, right? Practicing Mandarin at their own pace or receiving instant feedback. These positive feelings from part of their overall attitude toward using AI toward educational system. And for the second questions, it's about repeat the second.
Mr. Ivan, are we still have you in this room? Probably your video is freeze and your mic still mute.
Can you hear me?
Okay, pardon. Could you speak that again?
Hello. Okay. Maybe I will repeat the first question about the under attitude toward using, right? Maybe simple question is uh, the student uh, want to get an easy answer and feel comfortable and reliable to the AI tools. In the TM framework, it is toward using refers to individual overall positive or negative evaluation of using, and when using AI for manual learning reflects the positive emotional and maybe is for actions repeatedly without fear or judgment, receiving instant feedback, the positive feelings from part of the overall attitude for using a power educational system. I think this is for the first question, Miss Istifa. And for the second is questions, can you repeat, Miss Istifa?
Okay. Based on your research, what do you think? What is the most important feature AI tools that need so have people want to use it?
First of all, I want to ask, is there my connection, internet connection is stable?
Yes, we are still stable here.
Okay.
Based on my experience for the second question, right? Based on my experience and based on the answer from the questionnaire that we share specifically on the open answer section, they said AI helps them to reduce anxiety and learning Mandarin. As we know, it's not easy to learn the language because the language self is include the four basic professionals is listening, speaking, reading, and writing, right? So maybe the students is more convenient for using AI to get a quickly answer and quick response, I think. They also said that they hope there will be become a handwriting tools to uh, to study the grammar or the uh,
Okay, probably Mr. Ivan connection are not really stable here. That's I will wrap up your answer, Mr. Irfan. So basically, based on your research,
pronunciation can give
based
a
on your
feedback for their speaking skill.
experience.
No.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Irfan. Based on your explanation, the things that the first consideration that might be influence we as a consumer to use AI tools is tools that not give us anxiety. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ivan, for your explanation. Okay, next we move on to our last presenter with paper title Evaluating Zero-Shot LLM List-Wise Re-Ranking and Hybrid Fusion Using Rank Zapier on Indonesian Miracle Subset with paper ID 1571256360 that will be presented by Ms. Nurul Salsabila Syam from Universitas Indonesia. Okay, to Ms. Nurul Salsabila Syam, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. Please let me use my video recording for the presentation. Pernah nggak kedengeran?
Sorry, Ms. Nurul, maybe the sound of your video presentation is not flow to our room.
Sorry, wait a minute.
Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the organizing committee for this opportunity. My name is Nurul Salsabila Syam from Universitas Indonesia. Today, I will be presenting our work titled Evaluating Zero-Shot LLM List-Wise Ranking and Hybrid Fusion Using Rank Zapier on Indonesian Miracle Subset, co-authored with Mrs. Evi Yulianti, Mrs. Ika Arvina, and Mrs. Kurniawati Aziza. Here's the overview of today's presentation, covered introduction, methodology, result and discussion, and conclusion. Let us begin with the introduction. Traditional IR systems such as BM25 rely on lexical matching, while efficient BM25 is fundamentally limited because it cannot capture semantic relationship between words. Recent advances in large language model have modified their application to document re-ranking, zero-shot list-wise re-ranking, where the model considered the relative relevance of multiple documents simultaneously has shown promising results on English benchmark. However, their effectiveness for Indonesian remains largely unexplored. Indonesian present unique challenge, including morphological richness, extensive affixation, and code switching patterns that may affect re-ranking performance. This brings us to the research gap. Prior work on LLM-based re-ranking focused predominantly on English benchmark. Cross-lingual evaluation for low research language are limited. Studied on African language in the serial benchmark shows that zero-shot re-rankers struggle with direct non-re-ranking. For Indonesian specifically, no systematic evaluation of zero-shot list-based LLM re-ranking exists, and the impact of configuration parameters such as a candidate set size has never been investigated. To address this gap, we formulate two research questions. First, can zero-shot list-based LLM re-ranking improve retrieval quality over BM25 for Indonesian queries? And second, how does candidate set size affect the effectiveness of LLM re-ranking for Indonesian? For the methodology, we use the Indonesian Miracle dataset comprising approximately 1.4 million Wikipedia passages and 200 query samples from the 960 query development set. Our experimental pipeline follows the two-stage retrieval architecture. In stage 1, BM25 serves as initial retriever. We evaluate for candidate set size n equal to 10, 20, 50, and 100. In stage 2, Rank Zephyr performs zero-shot list-based ranking for candidate set size of 20 or fewer. All documents are processed in a single inference window. For a larger set, a sliding window mechanism with window size 20 and stride 10 is applied, and window level ranking are aggregated using reciprocal rank fusion. As shown in the figure, this forms a clean two-stage pipeline from the document collection to a final output. We also evaluate three experimental scenarios. First, BM25 baseline with no re-ranking. Second, direct re-ranking where BM25 candidates are passed directly to Rank Zephyr. And third, hybrid fusion where BM25 and Rank Zephyr ranking are merged by reciprocal rank fusion. For the evaluation, we use NDCG at 10, MRR at 10, P at 10, and R at 10. Statistical significance is assessed by Wilcoxon sign rank test. For the result and discussion, as shown in the chart and table, zero-shot LLM re-ranking achieved highly significant improvement where when properly configured, top 20 direct ranking achieve an NDCG at 10 of 0.2336, representing a 46.4% improvement over the BM25 baseline. More notably, MRR at 10 reached 0.303, 74.9% improvement, indicating that Rank Zephyr is particularly effective at placing the most relevant document to the very top position. For the hybrid fusion at top 20 also show significant gains with NDCG at 10 of 0.2151 and MRR at 10 of 0.253. However, it performs slightly below direct ranking. This suggests that when Rank Zephyr already produced high-quality ranking, merged with BM25 introduced marginal noise rather than complementary signal. Both results are confirmed statistically significant at P less than 0.01. This affirmatively answered at Q1. To understand when ranking succeeds and fails, we also analyze the query level in our success case. For query dari mana asal olahraga sumo, BM25 ranked first a document about sumo's Olympic status, which is irrelevant, while Rank Zephyr correctly promote the document explicitly stating sumo's Japanese roots, improving NDCG at 10 from 0.44 to 0.93. For the failure case, for query berapa berat senjata Kujang, BM25 retrieve a document with specification, while Rank Zephyr instead promote a document about Kujang symbolic meaning, collapsing NDCG at 10 from 1 to 0. This pattern is clear that Rank Zephyr succeed on general entity level queries, but fails on precise factual where BM25 exact term matching proves more reliable. Turning to RQ2, the line chart shows a consistent pattern of across all the configuration. Performance peaks at n equal to 20 and degrades substantially beyond that. Top 50 and top 100 falls below the BM25 baseline, meaning that using too many candidates actually hurt performance. Three factors explain this. First, candidate quality deteriorates beyond rank 20, forcing Rank Zephyr to filter noise rather than re-rank by relevance. Second, loss in a middle effect, causing middle position document in each window to receive unreliable scores. Third, RRF aggregation asymmetry artificially inflates mid-rank document. A document at BM25 rank 15, approximately 75% higher than the rank first purely due to window overlap. RQ2 is clearly answered that candidate set size is a critical configuration parameter and candidate quality matter more than the quantity. Then we compare Rank Zephyr against two additional re-rankers at top 20, all models significantly outperform BM25 baseline. Notably, M-Mini LM-V2 with only 33 million parameters achieved the highest NDCG at 10 of 0.2391, outperforming the Rank Zephyr's 7 billion parameters model. This attribute to its direct supervision on MRCO, which explicitly includes Indonesian training data. Rank Zephyr leads on MRR at 10, reflecting the strength of listwise reasoning. And in conclusion, this study provides a first systematic evaluation of zero-shot listwise LLM re-ranking for Indonesian. Our findings confirm two. First, zero-shot re-ranking significantly improve Indonesian retrieval. Top 20 yields 46.4% NDCG at 10 and 74.9% for MRR at 10 beyond the over BM25, demonstrating viable cross-lingual transfer from English training without fine-tuning. Second, candidate set size critically determines effectiveness. Top 50 and top 100 degrades performance below the baseline, confirming that candidate quality matter more than quantity. For future work, there's three promising directions. First, fine-tune Rank Zephyr on Indonesian data. Second, evaluate multilingual re-rankers with stronger Indonesian pre-training. And three, explore query adaptive re-ranking strategy. That's all for the presentation. Thank you very much for the attention.
Okay, thank you very much for the video recording presentation, Ms. Nurul Salsabila Syam. Now the floor is open to Q&A session. Please, guys, any question or comment regard to this research? Okay, please, Mr. Muhammad Afif. Sorry, maybe your mic is still mute. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the great presentation, Ms. Nurul. I'm Mr. Afifan. Like we talked about just now, our research areas real open life. Yeah. So in my work, I focus on the first step of retrieval using MPNet and BM25. On the specifically Mr. Saidi benchmark, but your research takes it a step further by using Rank Zephyr for ranking on the Miracle dataset, which is really interesting. since there are so many LLM, large language model for re-ranking out. I'm curious, why did you specifically choose RankGPR? Was there a practical reason, like it being easier to run on your hardware or does it just perform better for the Indonesian language compared to other options? Maybe it's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Afifan. So actually, there were several main consideration why choosing the Rank Zephyr for the listwise re-ranker LLM as the model in this research. So first, regarding proven performance, so Rank Zephyr is the zero-shot listwise re-ranker that has shown state of the arts in English benchmark results. So this isn't just any model, but one of the strongest model in its class of for a zero shot re-ranking task. And then regarding to efficiency relative to capability, Rank Zephyr is the result of distillation from the GPT-4 model, meaning that it's designed to approximate the reasoning quality of much larger model, but packaged in the more manageable size of 7 billion parameters. So this allow to run on the more limited GPU for my research without depending the more expensive model and less reproducible large model API. And then regarding to relevance to the prior cross-lingual research on the literature, so Rank Zephyr has also been used in other cross-lingual ranking studies in African language in several dataset. So by choosing the same model, the result of this research can be compared more consistently with findings on other low research language. So it's like a non-English language. How about my answer, Mr. Afifan?
Okay, I think it's clear. Maybe we should make some next research because our research area is overlapping.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mr.
Okay, thank you for that question, Muhammad Afifan, and the great explanation to Ms. Nurul Salsabila. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our presentation for this session in room F4. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of our presenters for their valuable contribution and for sharing their insight today. And I also want to thank you to the audience for your active participation and the engaging question that enrich our discussion today. So it is exchange of ideas that makes this conference more meaningful. Okay, before we close this session, I would like to asking help to our PIC room to take a screenshot of our attendee due to administrative requirement of this conference. Okay, thank you very much that all of you are open the camera. Okay, are we done? Okay. Okay, let's count to 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay. Is it enough, Mr. Emir? Okay, thank you very much. With that, I formally close this session. Thanks you once again for your time and being part of ECD's 2026. I wish you all a productive and enjoyable moment in this conference. Thank you and goodbye. Okay. Mm.